Hello and welcome to this Tyranids Codex review with me, Xenovids. So here it is, my new hardback Tyranids Codex. Now, my first impression looking at it, a lovely piece of artwork on the front. It bodes well. Got some of the models on the back as they normally do, and when you open it, it definitely has that new Codex smell to it. Now, before we go into more details about the actual Codex, I want to start by talking about what happened over this weekend. Now, I've got my copy here, and over the weekend there's been a lot, and I mean a lot, of negative feedback. There's been a lot of internet rage and pessimistic views on this Codex, which doesn't bode well for us Tyranid players. So I'm going to start by talking about all these negative comments on the internet and reviews. Miniwargamer J, who has his own channel and works at miniwargaming.com, he stated that it's the worst Tyranids Codex he has seen for years. The Codex has lost some units. I'll just give you two examples: the Doom of Malantine and the Mycetic Spore. From a playing point of view, that means Tyranids can no longer use drop pods like the Space Marines can. Therefore, they are back to having their stuck in their deployment zone, having to foot slug all the way up the field. Now, a reason for this is because of the legal battle that is happening between Games Workshop and Chapter House. You can do a quick Google search and you can find out more details about that. But those politics has interfered with the creation of this Codex, I think, which is really messed it up a little bit. Now, there is also no access to biomancy. Tyranids have their own psychic powers, which I'll be going over in this part of my review, but they can't access biomancy. And this was a big kick in the gribbly teeth for Tyranids. Biomancy was what really helped my Nids in 6th edition, and now it's gone. Whether they FAQ this Codex to state that you can use biomancy and swap it out or not is another thing. Tyranids can't ally. Now it seems they can't use any psychic powers from the actual rulebook, so Tyranids are on their own, and we have to strive to make them competitive, or at least draw a game or two. Now, a lot of people feel like this is a cut and paste Codex, with some people even saying that they've even copied the same spelling mistakes over to this one as was written in the last one. A lot of the artwork is great, but then you have other ones where that's the artwork from previous edition Zone Group. It was black and white in that, and now they've just added a little bit of green. I mean, if you're happy with the artwork that was written, painted and drawn and created like 2 or 3 years ago, I'm happy to keep the artwork, as long as the other things you're doing does update the Codex in a 6th edition mindset. The 6th edition Codexes that have come out have all had flavour to them. You can really feel their fluff. 2 examples of this is Tau. Now, they've got the ability to overwatch if you charge one of their units, as long as you're within 6 inches of that charged unit. Now, that coincides with the fact that they're very shooty. Eldar, one of my armies, they are able to run, shoot and run, and they've got added rules to some of their weapons. Kind of makes them, it shows that they're technologically advanced, but also all about maneuverability, because they're very weak models, toughness 3 models, and a lot of them are either 4-up armor save or 3-up armor save. The Tyranids, what did they get? Nothing, really. There was a rumour that they would be able to run and then charge, similar to the run, shoot, run for the Eldar, but that didn't transpire. They got a couple of new bugs. Now, I think the flyers look great. The Horospecs and the Exocrine, I'm not too sure about them. The Exocrine looks like a Biovore on steroids, and the Horospecs looks like it's merged with the Warhammer Fantasy Warriors of Chaos demon model. If you know what I'm on about, please write that in the comment section below. What else happened? Changes to instinctive behaviour. Good units got a little bit worse, i.e. Tervagon went up in price, and now if it explodes, instead of 6 inches away from it, any Termagants, they can also explode. It's now 12 inches. So now it's kind of a 50-50, do I bring a Tervagon? Because it can spawn Termagants, but if it explodes, any of them within 12 inches now die. And the points went up. With the Eldar and Tau, they have maneuverability, they have speed. Tyranids lost their drop pods. What did they gain? No real maneuverability or speed. Oh, how do they play? Well, they're not fast and they don't have a lot of maneuverability, and it's all about synapse and synergy now with this codex. That's what I'm seeing, because if you're not in synapse, you're not going to be around for long, and a lot of monstrous creatures are leadership 7 now, which is bad. So you have a close combat 6th edition army which is foot slogging across the board. Just think about that. Now, on face value, it would seem armies that come against Tyranids, it might do a little bit better. So I've written a small list of what armies would do well against this book. So Dark Eldar, poison weapons, they kill the synapse creature, the whole army implodes. Eldar, powerful weaponry, maneuverability, foot slogging army comes towards them, you can deploy to the right, shoot, come over to the left, shoot, Wraith Knight comes in, boom. Tau, they have such a variety of weapons ranging from different APs, they can prioritise their targets and take them down. Space Marines have grab weapons which can kill monsters like that. So now that's out of the way, let's begin looking at the Codex. Now let's take a look at the army I played before this one. In the 5th edition Codex, I was flying 2 Winged Hive Tyrants. One was a Shooty Hive Tyrant with Devourers and Brain Leech Wound. The other one was Bone Sword and Lash Whip. I had 3 Hive Guard, a Doom of Malantai in a Mycetic Spore, 10 Termagants, a Tervagon, 10 Termagants, a Tervagon, 30 Hormagants, a Tyrannifex with a Rapture Cannon, and a Trigon Prime. Now that's about 6 monsters, 50 Gaunts, and a couple of extras here and there. Now that was 2,000 points with a few upgrades here and there like regeneration. Now with this codex I lose Doom, the pod, Mycetic Spore. Termagants cannot be troops unless you have a full unit of 30 Termagants. So I've taken one of my Termagants out and added, so made it 30 Termagants because I only have about 30 to 40 Termagants. So with those tweaks, the points value of my army is now 1,515. There has been a bit of a price drop here and there, but this is the army I used with the 5th edition Codex. I moved up the field, I could rely on my Tervagons, I could rely on my Doom of Malantai drop podding in, and causing a lot of disruption on my opponent's side of the field, which means he had to choose where to fire. And then if he didn't fire at my monstrous creatures and fired at my Demon Malatai, I was able to make it to him. I now have to change the way I think, change the way I play, and find some golden nuggets in this codex. So it's very interesting already. For me, I like writing army lists, I like painting models, and I don't think I need to get a few more models. I've got enough models, I think. I could add a few here and there, but it's my playstyle I really have to look at now. Now, when looking at this book, I think you need to ignore all the rumours, all the wish lists, and just go with a blank canvas. When you look through here, you do see it doesn't really work out, but let's see what we can do. So now, looking at the special rules of the Tyranids, going to be looking at the Warlord traits and trying to have a look at some of the psychic powers that they have as well. So they have this double page spread which states all of the Warlord traits and instinctive behaviour and various rules. So I'm going to go over the rules now. So, instinctive behaviour. This special rule is always followed in brackets by type. So it's either lurk, hunt or feed. Now each Tyranid model and unit have separate things, and when I go through the model reviews and comparisons in my next part to my review, I'll explain which one has what. So basically, if you're not within range of a synapse creature, the unit or model has to take a leadership test. Now, as I said before, some of the monstrous creatures are leadership 7, so they're probably 50-50 chance they're going to be failing. If you pass, you can carry on. If you fail, then you have to roll on their individual behaviour tables. Lurk, hunt, or feed. Now it does say that some units don't have to take them for special reasons, such as if you have a unit out of synapse range but it is engaged in combat, they just carry on with the combat. If they're falling back, then they're already falling back, you don't need to take an instinctive behaviour test. Or same as if you've gone to ground, or if you've arrived from reserve this turn. So that could mean with if you're flying Hive Tyrants or Morlock or Harpy and the other flyer, the Hive Crone, if you have your synapse here and everything else is outside of it here, they're going to be fine for the first turn they arrive. Not bad, so it allows you to come together, essentially pincering your opponent. Shadow in the Warp. All enemy units and models with the Psyker, or Psychic Pilot, or Brotherhood of Psykers special rule suffers -3 penalty to their leadership, whilst they are within 12 inches of one or more model with the Shadow of the Warp special rule. Now I think Shadow of the Warp is on the Hive Tyrants and Swarmlord, so within 12 inches. It's not bad, but from this it doesn't look great. If you think though, the amount of times you've gone up to enemy Psykers, so Grey Knights, a lot of the Eldar, special characters in the Space Marines or Chaos Space Marines, their leadership is -3. Now if they were fearless or stubborn or whatever, I don't know if it really affect them, but to put a psychic power on or to go off, you need to do a psychic test, which is on your leadership on 2 dice. So essentially, -3 to your leadership, you're less likely going to have your psychic powers going off. That's not bad. You're 12 inches away, so you're going to be in combat with them. Even if they had Biomancy, for example, which you can't have, they're probably not going to be getting it off, and it's okay. We've got the Warlord traits here. Some models do automatically come with them. For example, Swarmlord comes with Synaptic Linchpin. And I will now go through all the Warlord traits table, and then I'll go through all the instinctive behaviour tables. Warlord traits. It's a D6. On a roll of a 1, you have Nature's Bane. At the beginning of each of your movement phases, you may select one forest, jungle or wood terrain piece within 12 inches of your Warlord. This terrain piece becomes a carnivorous jungle. Two, heightened senses. The Warlord can sense its prey. The Warlord and all friendly models within the Codex Tyranids within 12 inches of it have night vision. The close combat army of the Warhammer 40k universe has been given a Warlord trait of night vision. Synaptic Linchpin. The Warlord's synapse range is 18 inch. This one is good. This one is great. This Tyranids Codex seems to me as you're gonna need your bubbles of synapse more than ever. Making it 18 inch is even better. Mind Eater is number 4. Your army gains 2 victory points for each enemy model with the independent character special rule slain by your Warlord in a challenge. 50-50. Not great. 5. Digestive Denial. After deployment, but before scout, redeployments and infiltrate deployments, nominate one piece of terrain in the enemy deployment zone. This cannot be something that they have bought, so an Aegis or buildings and bastions and all that. The terrain piece cover save is reduced by 1 for the duration of the game to a minimum of 6 up. Tyranids aren't a shooty army. Why would cover saves really matter? Number 6, Adaptive Biology. If the Warlord suffers 1 or more unsaved wounds, it gains the Feel No Pain 5 up special rule at the beginning of its next movement phase and keeps it for the remainder of the game. I think Old One-Eye comes with this ultimately. Yes, Old One-Eye, the giant Carnifex of Doom that never dies, is now a HQ. I don't understand that. I'll go over more of that in the HQ section. Why you don't have synapse creatures in your HQ, who knows. But that one isn't bad. That one is the best of them all, I think. The problem is you can only have one Warlord, I think. So, number 3 and number 6 are the ones you want to be looking for. The other 4 are useless. Going on to instinctive behaviour. These are the tables that you have to roll on now. So Lurk. On a roll of a 1 to 3, the unit is treated as having failed a morale test and has to fall back. On a roll of a 4 to 5, says Seek Cover, but in the movement phase the unit is not slowed by difficult terrain, though its models must take dangerous terrain tests as normal. In the shooting phase the unit can run, but it can only shoot if it is in the building or area terrain. If the unit is partially within area terrain, only those models within area terrain are allowed to shoot. The unit cannot charge in the assault phase. Doesn't actually say though that you have to run to come to cover. Rules as written, it doesn't say you have to run to cover. So when it says seek cover, it just means move them as you normally would. You can't shoot, you can't assault, but you can move them. Although you'd probably want to move them towards cover, or move them even better towards another synapse creature. 6 is Stalk. This follows all the rules for seek cover. In addition, the unit gains stealth. So not bad. That one isn't so bad. Hunt. 1 to 3, if you roll that, it's Burrow and Hide. The unit immediately goes to ground. Now, units that contain one or more models with the Fearless special rule, i.e. monstrous creatures, they treat this as Prowl, which says see below. 4 to 5 is Prowl. In the shooting phase, the unit cannot run, and must instead shoot at the closest enemy unit that is within range and line of sight of at least one model in that unit, the Tyranid unit. If there is no viable target, the Tyranid unit can do nothing during the shooting phase, and they cannot charge in the assault phase. Okay. Number 6, Destroy. This follows all the rules for Prowl. In addition, the unit gains the Preferred Enemy special rule. Instinctive Behaviour. Feed. On a roll of a 1 to 3, Cannibalistic Hunger. The unit immediately suffers a number of hits equal to the number of models in that unit. These hits are resolved during the unit's majority strength. If drawn, use the highest. And AP dash wounds are allocated by the owning player and armor saves, but no cover saves may be taken. After resolving casualties, if any, the unit can do nothing else until the end of its turn. Units consisting of only a single model treat this result as Devour. See below instead. So again, if you're a monstrous creature, you have to see below. So this one is the most dangerous one. If you have a large unit of models with feed, so there's 20 models in that unit, you have 20 attacks against that unit at strength 3, and they can die. Devour, 4 to 5 on a d6. In the shooting phase, the unit cannot shoot or run. In the assault phase, if the unit is able to declare a charge, it must do so against the closest viable enemy unit. If the unit cannot declare a charge, it does nothing. And 6 is Kill. This follows all the rules for Devour. In addition, the unit gains the Rage special rule. So if you're not in Synapse range, you're either going to do nothing, go to ground, or eat yourself. Now, it's interesting. Tyranids are animals under the control of the hive mind, and when they're not in control of the hive mind, they resort back to being animals. So yes, I understand this does do that very well. They do turn into animals. But overall, it is a big hindrance. It is. And we'll go over that more when we look at each unit and how important Synapse is and Synapse creatures are in this Codex. So here we are then, all the way to the powers of the hive mind. Now, many Tyranids are also Psykers. They do not draw powers from the warp in a fathomable way, but rather they harness a fraction of the hive mind's will. This makes no difference for game purposes, and those models follow all the normal rules for perils of the warp. So it was represented as, if you cause a peril, you get a blood clot in your brain, or you just have a headache and it doesn't really work out. So, here we go. The Primaris power. Warp Charge 1. It's Dominion. It's a blessing that targets the Psyker. Whilst this power is in effect, the Psyker adds 6 inches to its synapse range. Not bad. So it goes from a 12 inch to 18 inches. Or if you're Swarmlord, which has gone up by a lot of points in this Codex, but could possibly have Dominion, the Psyker adds 6 inches to its synapse range. So Swarmlord, take Swarmlord as an example. Synapse creature has the Warlord trait to add an additional 6 inches to it. Dominion, you can get it. He's a mastery level 3, so you could take the Primaris power. That's another 6 inches. That's 24 inches. 24 inch bubble around him of Synapse. That's great. That's really great. because this book you need Synapse. Dominion, good. Extra 6 inches is great. Number 1 is Catalyst, Warp Charge 1 again. Catalyst is a blessing that targets the Striker's unit and up to one other friendly unit from Codex Tyranids, that is within 12 inches. Whilst this power is in effect, the target gains the Feel No Pain special rule. Now this is also a great psychic power. So again, I would probably suggest, from the way it's going with this, Tyrant with Tyrant Guard and Swarm Lord with Tyrant Guard. Could this be the end of the Flying Hive Tyrants? Since you can get a cheaper flying monstrous creature in your fast attack, why not have a Hive Tyrant with Tyrant Guard? They've just released new models for Tyrant Guard, and since you could possibly get Catalyst, you get Feel No Pain, and your unit gets Feel No Pain, and another unit gets Feel No Pain. Who knows? We'll see how they play test. But Catalyst is great if you have a lot of Psychers in your army. You can so you have Feel No Pain, and I have Feel No Pain, and he has Feel No Pain, and they have Feel No Pain, or you have Feel No Pain, and we have Feel No Pain. So this foot-slogging Tyranid army, which has to move up the field, has Fearless with Synapse. It has models like the Venom Thrope, which has changed to now giving Shrouded, so a 5-up cover save which can be modified, and the potential to have Feel No Pain and your monstrous creatures to potential to have regeneration. So I think this is how they're trying to combat the lack of maneuverability in the book. It's adding more and more saves and rolls to the game, so there's more of a chance of survivability. A small chance, but a small chance plus a small chance plus a small chance is a little bit bigger. But going on with the psychic powers now. Number 2, the Horror. Warp Charge 1. The Horror is a malediction that targets a single enemy unit within 24 inches. That target must immediately take a pinning test, as described in the Warhammer 40k rulebook, with a -2 modifier to their leadership. The Horror, not bad. A lot of Tau players out there, a lot of Eldar players out there, a lot of Dark Eldar players out there like to kill Tyranids. Pinning tests, -2. Now there is a chance they'll fail. With a lot of leadership, high leadership out there, there's always a chance. There's always a little bit of a chance with this book. Okay. So this book isn't great, but it seems to me to be like, there's a chance you could miss. There's a chance I could make you a little bit less, and I could possibly keep you on your toes. That's how I feel. Keeps you on your toes, this book. Number 3, Onslaught. Warp Charge 1. Onslaught is a blessing that targets a single friendly unit within 24 inches. Whilst this power is in effect, the target unit can both run and then shoot in its shooting phase. Okay. Not the most shooty of armies, but if you've got 30 Termagants in front of you, at least 24 inches away, like they would probably be if you had a Swarm Lord, and you get this effect off, they can then move 6 inches, run. If you roll a 6, that's another 6 inches. Their weapons are 12 inches, so you're going to be able to shoot more and take some of them down. And since your gaunts are there as cannon fodder, and just to kind of weaken the enemy for your monsters generally, or the rest of the swarm, it's not bad, actually. It's not bad. Paroxysm is number 4. It is also a malediction that targets a single enemy unit within 24 inches. Whilst his power is in effect, the target unit's weapon skill and ballistic skill are both reduced by D3. Roll once and apply the result to both characteristics. That's not bad. I'm pretty sure on Biomancy there was one that reduced the toughness and strength of your opponent. But this one isn't bad because it takes their ballistic skill as well as their weapon skill. So again, more chance of survivability, more chance of you wounding them, especially since a lot of your units are weapon skill free in this codex. It would help to even the playing field or even make it less. Psychic Scream is number 5, Warp Charge 1. Psychic Scream is a Nova power with a range of 6 inches. For each target unit, roll 2d6 plus 2 and subtract their leadership. That unit suffers a number of wounds equal to the result. Armor and cover saves cannot be taken against wounds caused by the Psychic Scream. AKA Doom Malantai's old ability. That was a great ability because you could drop pod Doom Malantai next to a unit and it could probably die, because that was 3d6. This is a little bit different. Doom Malantai's ability on a Hive Tyrant is situational at best. Give it to a Zoanthrope, what's the point? Because a Zoanthrope cannot even get close to the enemy because it's foot slogging. That's okay-ish, there are better ones. Last but no means least, Warp Blast. This is a Warp Charge 2. Warp Blast is a Witchfire power warp. The Warp Blast can be used as either a burst or a lance weapon. Each time this power is manifested, the controlling player must choose which profile is being used before the target is chosen. The first one is Burst, 24 inches, Strength 5, AP 3, Assault 1 Blast. Lance, 18 inch, Strength 10, AP 2, Assault 1 Lance. So that hasn't really changed, but it's now Warp Charge 2. So that is the Psychic powers, the Instinctive behaviour, and Shadow in the Warp powers. It's been a few days since it's been out. Again, I think this codex is all about synergy. It's not immediate to find the great units, but like I did say earlier, my old army, which was my 2000 point army, is now down to 1500 points with the point reductions. So I'm going to have a look through the codex and see what units look great, what units don't look great, if they've got better or worse, points gone up or down, and we'll start with the Tyranids HQ units. But thank you for watching. Please subscribe, link, comment and share. Especially comment. I'd love to see your opinions and if you see any good in this codex. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next video.